commercials at the first one. At the end, we need 3 minutes for a commercial and 2 to
That's
show.
why I wish DK was over there so I could see him.
Do something subtle, like throw a piece of paper at Dan's head. That'll get the attention.
Oh, you're terrible.
That's why he should be over there so we can see him,
Oh
or
my
we should be
gosh.
there.
I didn't even comb my hair.
Next time that probably makes sense.
We should be that table. So
Next time. Things Brunswick 2.0. It's Tuesday night. It's 6 o'clock. So we must be on again.
I think.
So I think we're here again.
We are.
We want to thank you for listening to us. We have a great show tonight. This is Bill Moore.
Mary Stillwell.
And Dan Roman.
Our usual guest, our usual co-hosts here. We're doing something a little bit different this time because we had a great lady on a couple weeks ago, and unfortunately we had some technical difficulties, and you didn't get to hear the good things she had to say. So we brought her back so we can correct that error. And I'm going to let Mary introduce her.
Yes, thank you, Bill. Yes, and I must apologize to Robin. We had technical difficulties the last time that she was here, and she had so much good information to offer. So we welcome back this evening Robin Moffit, who is running for school board. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And is a current member of the Brunswick County School Board.
Yes.
You want to go first?
I don't know if we're on.
Yeah. We are. No, she'd never mic on. That's why. No, we're good.
Okay.
All right, so we're on and we're functioning.
Yeah,
So
we're all good.
So
It's
you
all
want to get
good.
your first question in? You wanna-
Sure. So the last time you were here, you started out by telling us a little bit about yourself. Would you do that this evening, please?
Sure. So my family and I moved to Brunswick County in 2006. I'm originally from Randolph County. I attended public school my whole life, and I am a graduate of Appalachian State University. I have a bachelor's degree in elementary education with a minor in psychology. And during my tenure as teaching, I got my certification in reading recovery in Title I. And been married for 24 years to my husband, Randy. We have 3 children, a son and 2 daughters. The oldest 2 attend North Carolina State.
Wow.
Go Pack. And I have a 10th grader at South Brunswick. And we own a building company, Moffit Builders Incorporated, on Oak Island. I've been doing that for quite a bit of years, 20 plus years. And so just enjoy living here in this piece of paradise.
Thank you, Robin.
Yes.
Bill?
I know you joined the school board to deal with some of the issues that was going on with school districts, and yet they're ongoing, right now. We're very fortunate that we have a school board that's been addressed a great number of these issues already. You want to address that a little bit and talk about what the school board, and part of what you've done in the time you're there?
Sure. So Charlie Miller asked me to take his seat if he were to win the North Carolina House, and he did. So came before the GOP and was appointed to finish out his term. And so I was sworn in on December of 2020. So since being on the school board, I would say it's been a major learning curve, probably be most because of COVID. Just keeping the
yes.
kids in school, the mask mandates, things like that. The remote learning was a lot of issues that we had to address. There's been a lot of learning loss. I think a lot of people want to sort of pretend like that doesn't happen, but it's certainly a problem that we have a lot of learning loss. And, you've got to think about teachers were put in positions they were never, ever asked to be in.
Right.
To have children at home, learning remotely, parents trying to work, that's been a big issue we've had to deal with. Also, different things coming towards us like critical race theory, social emotional learning. Those are other issues that, that are being dealt with across the nation. Fortunately, here in our county, we have a board that, fights that. We don't want it in place in our county. So those are some of the major things I think we've tried to deal with. We're going to have to look at building another school because of the growth in our county. Everyone wants to move to Brunswick County. So I believe you and I were talking about this. We are the fastest growing county in North Carolina.
And the fourth in the nation.
Yeah. So, I was going to say that. So everyone's found out about our secret down here. So everybody wants to come here. So with that, a lot of children come, and so we're looking at, having to build another school and expand. And so a lot of issues we have on the table that we're going to have to deal with.
And I think what's nice about that, and as a former principal, so that kind of gets me going with all this, the board is being proactive. They're not sitting back and saying,
Exactly.
all of a sudden we have overcrowded schools, what do we do?
Right.
You're looking 10 years down the road, and you're projecting as best you can on that.
Right.
And you're planning. And I want to congratulate you guys for doing that kind of planning and helping our kids. I think that's great.
Yes.
Well, we have a lot of good leadership at the central office, and, we do know that we are going to have a lot of growth. They've done some demographic studies with a couple of different people, so we kind of know what's ahead. We're trying to know what's ahead at least. And we're going to do an expansion at North Brunswick because the Leland area is just bursting. Mm-hmm. So, we've got some plans in place that we're going to try to, solve the problems before they get here.
That's great. You guys have done an outstanding job.
Thank you.
Really. Dan?
So, when you were last here, and nobody heard it,
That's
we
okay.
had some great discussions about some things, and it was funny because it was about 3 weeks ago you were here. I had a conversation with someone shortly after that, and we were talking about an issue that I think is starting to become near and dear to me. So one of the things that we were talking about, and it's someone actually that's looking to move to Brunswick County, is that boys are falling behind in school. Over the last 40, 50 years, a lot of the focus has been on making sure the girls were brought up to speed, rightfully so, okay? But we're starting to see test scores and all that. The boys are starting to lag. Has the board looked at that? Is there any plans in the works on that? How do you feel about it?
Well, being a former teacher, I taught for 10 years, so it is a different learning environment for girls and boys. So if you think about it, education is catered more towards a female in that they can sit down and multitask. They are better listeners. They can sit still. So I taught in the elementary school, and boys did have a harder time sitting still. Their nature is to be up and about, and So, and also boys are also can be 12 to 18 months behind in maturity level
Absolutely.
than a girl the same age.
Yes.
So
My wife's still waiting for me to catch
I
up.
was saying, we stay that way. I was about to say the same thing.
you may stay that way, yes.
Yeah.
You two do.
Right. Well, see, you keep them straight, Mary. You're in the
I
middle.
try.
Yeah. So there are challenges I can see that boys would have. I think they also focus boys towards more math and science areas, and that may not be their gift. So I think we have to be open-minded that there are maybe boys that are more gifted in communications and English and history and things like that. It has not been brought to the board about boys, But, that's certainly something that they would look at as far as data. They're looking at all kinds of data for learning loss and, different demographics of
And
who it
that's
affected.
kind of where the conversation I was having was we were talking about learning loss
Yeah.
through COVID.
Yeah.
And what they were saying is that they felt their son had fallen further behind than their daughter had.
Right.
Maturity is definitely part of it,
Right.
but it was the style of learning is kind of where we were going with it.
Yeah.
Speaking for myself, some 50-odd years ago when I was in school, I was that kid that couldn't sit at a desk. And I'm also, I learned to this day better through trial and error of things as opposed to rote learning.
Right.
And it was a fascinating conversation. I actually was thinking of you during that because of what things you had brought up during the prior show.
Well, if you look at it scientifically, only 20% of people could probably even be successful in remote learning because you've got
I'm
tactile.
surprised it's that high, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just, that's just being probably very broad. But, I mean, most people learn visually, kinesthetically, hands-on like yourself. So being behind a computer all day and trying to log in and stay engaged and even be organized enough. If you know anything about the Google Chromebooks that they use at the school, you have to hit the submit button, and if you don't hit it,
Right.
it doesn't go through. And then parents were working and they're trying to do their job and take care of their household, and the Google Docs that they use. There's like all these formats where they have to submit things, and you have to be pretty organized to do that. And I think boys do probably struggle more with organization than girls, so I can totally see where that would be a problem for some boys, as opposed to girls. My son was in college when we had to close the public school systems down, or the state did. He went on remote learning. He did okay. My girls were at home. They did okay. And but I'm not saying that everybody would do okay. My son probably hated it more than my girls did. He would voice to me that he was so frustrated. And he had even said, if NC State goes remote again, I'm taking a semester off.
Really?
Yes. He said he did not want to do that anymore. And, he was in his major. So to learn your major
Wow.
online, I mean, I was thinking about this, like, would I want my engineer to be online? Or my pre-med student to be online?
I was just going to say, or
Yeah.
pre-med.
I mean, the
or-
guys who are like going to construct bridges, do I want to be online? I just think about that. People in the medical field or nursing. How do you learn online? You can't.
Exactly. And the fact also, I felt especially bad for the seniors.
Yeah.
They missed their entire senior year.
I had a senior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the activities and the happiness of doing, they missed all of it.
Yeah, and you can't reclaim
No.
any of that. And
Nor can you. People don't even realize, but my grandson, who's currently in college now, he ended up losing his ability to go to certain schools at the NCAA level
Yes.
because they gave the kids that were there an extra year
yes.
to play sports.
Yes.
Right,
So
because
the
they
kids,
lost it,
they red flagged. They took the red flag away,
Yes.
and so there was no room on the teams for freshmen in
Right.
a lot of schools.
Right.
So he didn't go to the school he wanted to because he wanted to play soccer, and he had to go someplace that
Yeah.
had an opening. And we don't realize the seniors really got a double whammy, not only in what they were able to do at school, but even where they could go afterwards.
Well, and if you think about it, those seniors that lost their senior year, they lost the last third of their junior year.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
And so my daughter was an avid runner, a phenomenal runner, and she lost her track season. Her very first track meet, they were on the bus, and the coach said, "This will be your first meet and your last meet. School's going to be closed."
Oh, my.
And so she was devastated because she'd been, done so well her freshman, sophomore, and junior year. Well, it was her junior year, so she was losing all that, and she was just devastated. And same thing. I mean, she had schools looking at her, and that just kind of got taken away from those kids.
And what people don't realize is kids don't go to school for algebra and English and social studies.
Right.
They go to school for sports. They go to
do.
school for activities that go on around there for training. And, I'm very, very pleased how the school system has worked with BCC to make that link that anybody graduates, they can go there for free.
Yes.
And I believe they have a plan that takes them a step beyond, don't they?
Yes.
Well, they have, the College and Career Promise, which is something you can do in high school with the dual enrollment, which is wonderful with BCC. So you can literally take high school classes and take your load at the high school, and yet when you get out of school, you can go to BCC, like you said, for free. and they have that pathway to where they coach the kids on the classes that will transfer to the state-supported schools. So they have some great counselors there that will tell you what you can take, what will transfer, what won't. This will be an elective. This will be an actual gen ed class. My daughter was able to take advantage of that, and she went into NC State with several credits, and she is a semester plus ahead right now, just
That's
from BCC.
great.
Yeah, again, but that's cooperation between the school board, between the county commissioners,
Yes.
and between
Yes.
the both of you. You actually guys have lined up a half a dozen four-year schools, including UNC Pembroke,
Yes.
which we're letting our kids go there for just $500 a semester, which is unheard of nowadays.
Yeah, I believe it's UNC Asheville, Pembroke. Yeah, some of those state-supported
there's a half a
schools.
dozen in the
Western
middle.
Carolina, I believe. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes.
That will let them in. I think that's a great maneuver.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you a different direction, though, because
Okay.
as a favorite of mine is not every kid needs or should go to college.
Absolutely not.
And I'm very, very pleased with what the board is doing for the hands-on skills that kids
Yes.
have and go out there.
Right.
So you want to address
At
that for a couple
BCC.
minutes?
Yeah, so we are big advocates of trades. We recognize that not every kid needs to go to college. And, BCC, the coast that we have, the school that we have at the coast, they have culinary, they have auto mechanics, clean energy. There are several avenues that kids can take where you don't have to just consider yourself a college student. That
And come out with a marketable skill.
Right, absolutely. And being in the building business, I mean, we are huge. We rely hugely on trades. And so I know that we need electricians and plumbers and HVAC people right now. And so anyone that would want to do anything like that, you can be highly successful, own your own business. And so trades, for me, I'm a huge proponent of trades. And not every kid has to fit into a box of a four-year university. Not at all. And so I think it's great that we offer that to the kids, and they can even go to school maybe a couple hours in the morning at your high school, but go to the BCC or the coast in the afternoon, or whatever you need to do to, get those classes that you need. Welding, cosmetology, culinary, anything like that.
I
So-
think that this is the perfect place for that. We have
Yes.
such an influx of people that we require these trades desperately.
Right.
So this is the perfect place for kids to be introduced to that.
Well, they've done studies on what trades are needed in this area. So they are very aware and up on those type things. For instance, they got rid of aquaculture at South Brunswick High School because it wasn't needed anymore. Great program, a lot of kids loved it, but it just wasn't a need. So they phased that out. So they're very aware of what is needed and offering
Good.
that to the kids.
If you're not aware of it, people, you can go to the Department of Labor at the U.S. Department of Labor, and they can give you 10-year projections of what openings will be for jobs.
Right.
And, schools like Brunswick and Brunswick BCC can look there and decide, here's what we need to be tailoring our programs to, because
Right.
that's where the jobs are in 10 years. And I think that's great that you're looking ahead like that.
Yeah, and we do curriculum fairs for the kids to make sure that they're aware of the possibilities and what is available to them. We partner with Brunswick Electric about lineman school, and we just bring all these type people in. I attended one at the coast, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, and there were so many kids there so excited because not every kid wants to go to college. So it just gives them the opportunity to learn about what's available.
That's wonderful.
And they can make a lot more money not going to college
Right.
because HVAC techs make a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Auto mechanics these days.
Yeah.
I used to love working on my car. I wouldn't even fathom trying now. It's
Right.
a special skill set, and I remember back when I was in high school, I did not do it, but they had auto shop, and some of those kids now are millionaires.
Was that when
literally.
we used
yeah.
to twist it to start the car when you were in?
I wouldn't know, Bill.
You
That was
guys.
a few years after you got off the horse and buggy when you went to school, but okay.
As always, you're supportive
yeah,
of
no,
everything I
was
say.
gonna go there. Go ahead.
Robin Moffit is running for school board. If someone should like to learn more about you, where could they go?
Okay, so I have a Facebook page, Robin Moffit for Brunswick County School Board. I have an Instagram with the same, and I have an email, moffitforschoolboard@gmail.com. You can look on there and you can email me. I also have a phone number you can reach me at. And I think my webpage is launched, but I'm not 100% sure. We had some issues with that. And but yeah, you can reach me even on the district website for Brunswick County Schools. I'm listed there with a a little biography about myself and a way you can reach me by phone.
Great.
So-
I know that every one of you sitting on that school board has one thing that is near and dear to your heart. What is yours?
I think serving all children, not just, your constituents or a group of children in your area, maybe my district, serving all children and giving them a sound education. And maybe just looking at the whole child, like you said, it's not just about academics. I mean, show me a kid that'll play sports, and I'll show you a kid that'll stay in school.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. We
Right.
had quite the discussion about that.
And sports is so much more than just competing. I mean, it teaches teamwork, it teaches perseverance and resilience, and there's so many
Discipline.
skills that you build with that. And so I think just looking at the whole child and what we can offer them, even through clubs and different support systems that we have in the school, and just making sure that each child gets a sound education and serving all children throughout the whole county would be
That's
my
great.
heart.
Yeah, one of the things we had
Our
talked
founders,
about last time.
our founders,
Wow. Out of nowhere. I think one of the
I
things
think
we
the
had
founders want to say something. Right? We'll have to
apparently
wait.
twice they tried to chirp.
Yeah.
But, one of the things we had talked about last time was getting back to basics in the schools, and specifically with math and English and those type of things. And you had some really good thoughts on it. You want to share some of that again?
Well, I think Common Core has been something I've questioned all along. I don't think I'm not a fan
I
of
don't
Common
know
Core.
anyone who's a fan of it.
No,
Except the guy who wrote it and made
Except
a lot of
I
money
was going to
from
say,
it.
except
Yeah.
the people who are
Yeah.
making money off of it.
Exactly. So I do think that getting back to basics would definitely be a focus for our system. I think a lot of things that are trying to come in are have nothing to do with academics. For instance, the social emotional learning, which is I've got some notes on it here, but I just want to tell you who funds social emotional learning, and that's there's a program called CASTLE, and they do student surveys, and they gather data on children, and it goes into a national data bank. So next week I have a meeting with some of the people at our central office about CASTLE, and I don't want that in our system. I don't think kids should be surveyed. I don't think any information should go into a national data bank, but CASTLE.
They're not just collecting about the kids; they're collecting about the family.
Yeah, it is
Yeah,
the family.
they
Yeah.
are.
So CASTLE is funded by the federal government through an Institute of Education Sciences, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the 1440 Foundation,
course.
which promotes Buddhist mindfulness, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which promotes socialized medicine and climate change warnings, the Novo Foundation, which promotes transgender rights and is dedicated to catalyzing a transformation in global society, moving from a culture of domination to one of equality and partnership. And of course, our state dollars, taxpayers,
Wow.
are funding SEL.
Yes, they are.
Because of, if CASTLE's used, coming down out of DPI, it's your tax dollars at work.
It must be, and I know it's difficult because as I've been an administrator in the state, I know how hard it is to try and work around
Oh, it's
the,
terrible.
the toolboxes or the directions you get from the state
Yeah.
and try to find a way to make it work for the kids without
Yeah.
going too far astray
Right.
because you'll end up getting in more trouble and actually
Oh,
hurting
yeah.
kids beyond that.
For sure. I mean, they'll pull funding, and everybody's like, well, just tell them to pull the funding then. Well, if you pull funding at any level, the school buses don't run, the cafeteria can't feed the kids. It's easy to say, well, just let them pull the funding. You can't just pull the funding, then the school shuts down.
Right.
So it is hard because DPI has regulations and the state school board has regulations, and there's all kinds of rules, and it is hard to get around it. Like when we tried to get around the North Carolina toolkit for opening up the schools, we tried every way to get around it, and you can't get around it.
No, and the decision had to be what will keep most of the kids in school to try to offset the year they lost, the year plus.
Yeah.
And so you guys had very difficult decisions, and I, for one, as a former administrator, commend you for how you did it. You guys did a great job.
Well, we even asked, or I asked in one of the meetings, do we have to follow this toolkit? Because it was a mandate, and much of it was recommended, suggested, highly recommended, those key words. And so, I researched it, and we did have to follow it under a general statute because when I looked at it, it didn't say it was a general statute on the toolkit, but when you read deep into it and you go look at the general statutes, which, so incredibly boring, you did find that COVID was listed as a communicable disease.
Yep.
And it listed COVID-19, and that fell under the general statute, even though the toolkit didn't say that it fell under a general
So
statute.
effectively, what the state did was to
Wow.
enforce their roles through the local groups and got the
Yes.
heat off them and put it
Yes.
on
Right, it
you
was all
guys.
Yes.
political cover.
Absolutely.
Yep,
It was
absolutely.
all political theater.
Yep.
So, and everybody wants the kids in school. Everybody.
Yes.
I mean,
even the kids.
Even the kids want to
Especially
be
the
in school.
kids.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
they wanna
that
go to
got
school.
old very quickly when they were off for about a couple of weeks. That became old very quick.
Yes,
Very
it did.
quickly. Yeah, and they wanted to go back, and they couldn't go back. It's just
People don't realize how
Awful.
important for kids at any age socialization is.
Yeah.
And when you isolate them at home in front of a computer, you're doing long-term
Well,
damage.
we're starting to see the effects
Yeah.
of that now with all of the issues that are cropping up.
Sure.
Emotional, mental.
Yeah, I mean,
all
the
of that.
depression is at an
It's-
all-time high.
Yep.
The learning loss is there, and as a former principal, you lose a year and a half, 2 years. They say you never recover.
That's right. They say 2 years, you're almost beyond getting it back. I understand
Yeah,
that.
it's almost beyond repair. So there's a lot of kids who are struggling right now, and we've had math teachers in the high school to say this is the lowest group they've ever taught as incoming freshmen. Not their fault.
No.
No.
The kids don't want to be low, but they're low because they weren't in school.
Right.
Well, I know a number of them that took
Exactly.
those AP courses that didn't even bother to go to take the exam because they were going to get killed. They
Yeah.
just knew it. And that's a
Well,
shame.
and the AP pass rate was it plummeted because you can't replace a live, engaged teacher.
No.
You can't
Yeah,
replace
absolutely
them.
not.
No.
Absolutely impossible, no matter
It's
what
so
anybody
hard to
tells you.
get direction from
And
a
some
notebook.
kids, the only love or a smile or a hug they get is from that teacher.
Yes.
So it's not just about them going to the
The blackboard.
smart board and teaching. It's so much more than that.
See, I got old. I did Blackboard. She did Smartboard.
I
So that just
I
shows you the
picked up
difference
on
we have
that
there.
actually.
Anyway,
Dry erase board.
okay, I'll go there. One question I asked you last time that nobody heard was
But-
tell us something about you that nobody knows.
Okay, I don't even remember how I answered that. Did we talk about scuba diving?
No,
Yes.
yes, you
Yes,
did.
we did.
Yes, you did.
Yes,
We
we
did.
did. Okay, so I used to love to scuba dive until I had 3 kids, and then I figured out a 105-foot dive is probably not the smartest thing to do as a mom. So, but I do love to do that. My deepest dive was 105 feet off of St. Lucia, the Grand Tetons. But like I said, when I became a mom, I was like, that's probably not a smart move to be 105 feet down, because I know my kids needed me. So.
Besides, you didn't know what they were doing down while you were down there, what they were up top
Yeah, you
to
just
it.
never know. Yeah. So, but if something goes wrong 105 feet down, you're probably in trouble. So,
Probably so.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love to travel and do things like that and see the world. And
One more time.
sure.
People want to hear about you. They
Yes.
want to read about you. They want to donate some money to your campaign. How do they do that?
Okay, so I have a Facebook page which you can do the antidote. How do you say that? Antidote. So if you go to Robin Moffit for Brunswick County Board of Education, you can find it there. There's links there for Antidote. I have a Venmo account, Committee to Elect Robin Moffit. You can call me, email me. It's moffatforschoolboard@gmail.com. And then even on the Brunswick County website for the school system, you can go there, learn a little bit about me, and I have a phone number you can reach me at. So I'm accessible in all ways.
And I would like to ask you on behalf of all of us, don't be a stranger. There's something you think
Yes.
that you want us to know and the people need to know.
Okay.
You get in touch with us and we'll get you back on the show anytime. Thank you
Perfect.
for coming today.
Thank
we
you so
enjoyed
much.
having you.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you for coming back.
Now we do have to
Absolutely.
pay a few bills,
yes,
TK.
we do.
I think.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Paid for by the committee to elect Judge Michael Stadding. As a member of the United States Air Force, I stand for our nation. As a prosecutor, I took a stand against violent criminals. As an attorney for the Fraternal Order of Police, I took a stand for law and order. As a sitting conservative judge, I stand for our Constitution. And as a judge on the Court of Appeals, I will stand up for you. Vote for a battle-tested conservative. Stand with Stadding. Michael Stadding is a reservist for the United States Air Force. Use of his military rank, job titles does not imply endorsement by the Department of the Air Force or the Department of Defense.
Our founders expected judges to apply, not make, our laws. I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. More than 20 years ago, I began my legal career by joining the Marine Corps and taking an oath to support and defend the United States Constitution. As a justice on our state Supreme Court, I will continue to protect the Constitution by basing my rulings on the founders' intent, not my personal views. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
My name is Brian Wilson. I'm running for District Court Judge. During my lifetime, I've gone from protecting your God-given and constitutional freedoms as a combat vet of the U.S. military to working locally as a carpenter building homes while I worked my way through college. For the past 17 years, I've been protecting and defending your constitutional rights in the courtroom. I'm currently protecting our rights of our most vulnerable, our children, as the guardian ad litem attorney advocate for the children of Brunswick, Columbus, and Bladen County. I've spent my career serving our country, our state, and our communities, so I ask that you continue your confidence by voting for me, Brian Wilson, in the primary elections on May 17th. Thank you.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you are a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Back again for part two. Now we're back again for part two. Welcome to All Things Brunswick, and we're glad you're here. We have another guest coming on. Mary, you want to introduce him? And let's see what he has to talk to us about.
This evening, we're very happy to have with us Vincent Russo, who works locally for the domestic violence shelter.
Hope Harbor Home.
I'm sorry, the Hope Harbor Home.
Don't worry, I just wanted to. For the
And
viewers at
this
home.
young man came to us, and this specific thing is very dear to him. And so we have asked him to come on and talk a little bit about what would you like to make our audience aware of, Vincent?
Well, I wanted to make the audience aware of the fact that for such a great charity, it's not like gendered domestic abuse. It's for anybody who actually needs the shelter, needs to get away from something. Recently, we actually started clearing out the store for somebody whose possessions got burnt up by an abusive spouse, because I actually work at the store not that far from where we're actually shooting this.
Mm-hmm.
And for such a great charity, there's not a lot of people who work for it. There have been times where, at least the store where I work at, it's just the manager running the show for like a good couple hours on a 9:30 to 5 shift. And sometimes it's just me and the manager working there when the workflow can get high. And if it's our store, no doubt it's at the other stores and even at the administrative level. Generally, it just not enough people are trying to help out with this cause, and I think that's because of the lack of exposure. I barely even knew about it until my parents brought it up. So
what you're trying to say is you would like very much for folks to come volunteer?
Anyone, really, just donate, buy things, volunteer, even just get the word out if you can't or won't.
And how does one volunteer?
Well, personally, I just walked in, told Leigh, oh, hey, I want to volunteer, filled out a background check, and boom, I was on for the next week.
And what's that address that they go to?
I can't tell you the administrative building. I really can't tell you the address off the top of my head, but you can walk into anywhere and get it put
Right.
up the ladder even. So
I believe that there are 3 Hope Harbor
Hope
thrift
Chest
stores.
thrift stores. And the Hope Harbor building like itself, can't tell you. I apologize, but
That's okay. We have they have one on 17 here in Bolivia,
which is the one that I work at. If you go
Right.
there, say hi to Miss Suzanne for me.
and there is one in Oak Island, and the other one I believe is in Leland. Is
Yep.
that right?
That's
I believe that if you walk into each one of them, they probably have an application right there.
yeah. They take applications, just fill out a form, make sure the background check clears, and you're in. You're on
And if
schedule.
people wanted to donate, what kind of things could they donate?
At the thrift stores, anything that you think could sell. We don't really have a policy of turning anything away. I've seen anything from old flashlights to entire brake fronts be put on sale.
Wow.
And
That's great.
know that there's a chance that could also go to victims of domestic violence themselves for things like clothes and toiletries if they need it.
Right.
And of course, money too.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you guys don't turn down a check or cash.
Yeah, we won't turn down a check.
Vincent, thank you so much. You know, in this day and age, it is rare for me to find a young man such as yourself doing such great work.
And I frankly agree with that. There is thankfully one other person in my school, since we have like mandatory volunteering. It's how I actually got to know. I put some feelers up. There's a total of one other person from my school that's actually volunteering at the administrative level. So thank God for that. But
Wow.
that's still far too little for, I believe,
Yes.
anybody's liking.
I can tell you one of the things that Bill's never asked me the question, something that people don't know about me, but I'll answer it, which is I was a domestic violence counselor for men back in 2004, 5, and 6 as a volunteer. And I can tell you there is a drastic shortage of that. There is so much help that is needed at all levels, from maintaining a store for donations or all of that to running. I ran groups, and I'm not a counselor. I'm not I did have some training. If you can volunteer even a little bit of your time, you can have a tremendous effect on changing someone's life.
Right.
And Vincent, you're a senior where?
Senior at the Brunswick Early College High School, actually just up the road. Weird how this is all happening in the same couple mile area. But yeah,
Well, we wish you the very best, Vincent, and we'd like to have you back on the show.
and I'd be glad to come when I actually
Great.
know the answers to your questions.
Well, we never know all the answers because we don't know what
We
we're
don't know
asking
the
you,
answers
so
to
you'll
our
never know what we're
questions,
going to ask
that's
you.
You have
But I want to
done fine.
I want to congratulate you and the school system for having programs that get you out there to work
Yep.
and work in the community and work volunteerism, and that's a great thing to teach, and it's a great thing to
Absolutely.
get involved with.
And,
So
and to work
Yep.
with something that is vitally needed.
Yeah,
Congratulations to you
and
for doing
I'd
that.
like to thank you all for actually hosting me, because honestly, I do think anybody, any kind of word on any kind of channels with just generally, thank you for giving me a platform to talk about something so near and dear to me, because as soon as I heard it was for domestic abuse and it was accept anybody, help anybody that's needed, I signed up for it in a heartbeat.
Oh,
Good
that
for you.
is great.
ladies and gentlemen, what you're hearing is one of our high school seniors from our Brunswick school system
Yes.
out there, and he's just one of many doing their things to help the community. Vincent, thank you, and come back and see us again.
Yes. Thank you
Oh,
so
I
much.
will as soon as I can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to do we have a new sponsor with us today, and we haven't yet got that recorded, so we're going to do that verbally between the two of us. And Mary, you want to go first with yours?
Sure. Okay, the Clerk of Court makes legal decisions that affect the lives of Brunswick County citizens daily. The current Clerk of Court, who is an attorney, has demonstrated this for many years. Katie Maiden has practiced law for over 10 years. To ensure that this quality of service continues, vote Katie Maiden for Clerk of Courts. Paid for by the committee to elect Katie Maiden.
And that same committee to elect Katie Maiden has also joined with a couple of other people on the last day in April and the first day in May for some fun activities. So, for example, if you're in Brunswick County, join Katie Maiden and Sheriff John Ingram for some Western family fun. Come and watch our local cowgirls and cowboys run barrels and poles. All are welcome. There'll be food served by Chuck's. It's a cash-only basis. April 30th, the Wild Bill Arena. in Leland on 5085 Columbine Trail. Showtime is 5 p.m. The gate fee is $5. If your kids are 5 and under, you're free. Dan, you could get in anyway, maybe a mental age. And the second thing that Katie's involved with is a family fun day at the Cape Fear Regional Jetport. Free jump houses, food, music, and more. It's from Sunday, May 1st from 1 to 3. It's hosted by the leaders of Brunswick County's justice system. Katie Madden for Clerk of Court, Sarah McPherson for Judge, Sheriff John Ingram, and District Attorney John David. And the airport is located at 4015 Airport Road in Southeast Southport. So anyway, fun time on the 30th of April and the 1st of May. If you want to get involved, come and join and have a good time. You
Sounds
wanna
like
do
a
so
big
next
blast,
time?
actually.
Yeah, it sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. I'm going to go to at least
Although
one of them.
it's Wild Bill Day here right now.
It's Wild Bill anytime I'm around.
We have a new guest, and we would like to thank him for joining us this evening. Everybody, please welcome Anthony Street, who is running for Clerk of Court in Brunswick County. Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Hope you're doing well this evening.
I will, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Please tell us a little bit about you, Anthony.
Well, I'm Anthony Street. I'm a native of Brunswick County. Been here all my life. I have always desired to be a public servant. I went to Brunswick Community College, so I'm a proud advocate of my alma mater. Went to UNCW, got a bachelor's in geography, and then I studied through UNC Pembroke and got a master's in public administration with a concentration in emergency management. And I have served for 10 years on our county soil and water board. In 2020, I was your NC GOP candidate for NC auditor. And I have always been motivated by concern for my fellow taxpayers, my fellow citizens, and a desire to find an opportunity to serve. I'm a proud conservative, a moral, social, fiscal conservative, and I am doing my best to be a Christian example in my community.
That's great. I met Anthony several years ago when he worked for Soil and Water along with a friend of mine, Randy Sullivan.
Yes.
They were a great help to me. I was working very hard to get a spillway for my hometown. And to this day, I am amazed at the ideas that they came up with that I hadn't thought of. So I thank you once again for that, Anthony.
Yes, I remember when our board was investigating various avenues to help the people of Boiling Springs.
Thank you. So you are running for Clerk of Court.
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell us why you chose to run for that position?
Well, I have always been a law and order candidate. I have always supported our courthouse and our sheriff's office. As a conservative, I am concerned about the future of our county. The Clerk of Court is a very high-profile office that gets the opportunity to interact with a lot of people. As a matter of fact, I saw somewhere online where it said an average of 1/4 of the citizens of a county will at some point in a year's time visit their Clerk of Court's office, whether it's to deal with a traffic ticket, matters of probate, settling a will, answering a jury summons, or as the victim of a crime. At some point during their lifetime, virtually all citizens will have to deal with their Clerk of Court's office. So it's important to have a Clerk of Court that loves the people, that has a heart for the citizens,
Absolutely.
that wants to serve, that wants to help, and that I fit those qualifications.
Thank you, Bill.
Anthony, when you talk about Clerk of Court's role, how do you envision stepping into the job and whatever modifications you might want to make to the job? Or what do you see needs to be changed, if anything?
There is always room for improvements. There is all things can, no matter how perfect the system is, it can always be further tweaked to serve the needs of the taxpayers. I think Mr. Jim McCallum should be highly commended, and he is, for the role that he has played in being our clerk of court. So whoever becomes the next clerk, they are inheriting a functioning system that he has worked hard to establish. It's a pretty well functioning machine.
And I tend to agree with you. I think whoever wins this election is walking into a well-organized operation
Yes.
and just needs to put their own personal touch on it.
Right. It'll be a matter of maintaining more than creating from scratch.
So, as clerk of court, you're responsible for a lot of decisions that have to be made. What in your background do you think you can draw from that will help you to make those decisions?
Well, I have a master's, as I already stated, I have a master's in public administration. And the great thing about that degree is the diversification of classes that one takes while pursuing it. I studied business, marketing, budgeting, analytics, some law, managerial, economics. The list goes on and on. And I have, as I already stated, 10 years of public service serving on our Soil and Water Board. I have a very diversified background. I have worked in many industries, and so being self-employed, I spent 6 years working in nuclear security at a power plant in Southport. I've worked in grocery stores. I've worked in construction. So I have a lot of experience in a lot of different fields that I can draw upon to be able to relate to people from all walks of life. And I believe that to be a very important part of being clerk of court.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Yes, absolutely. I remember the first time that I saw Anthony before I even worked with him from the Soil and Water. He came to a meeting at headquarters, and we referred to him as our resident comedian because each time we had a meeting, Anthony made us laugh. So I think that this is one of the things that you enjoy doing, right, Anthony?
I understand that a lot of people have a lot of hardships and struggles that they deal with on a daily basis. So I've always wanted to be one that lightens the burden for people. And I know matters have to be taken seriously, and I am a critical thinker, a deep thinker. But I also like to quit with my one-liners to bring a smile to somebody's face, try to brighten their day. I consider that to be very important.
And you certainly do a good job.
Well, thank you. Comes from years of practice.
And it is critical in a critical position to know when to carrot and stick, so to speak, because if you can go to somebody and get your message across in a non-threatening way but a firm way,
Right.
and add a little humor to it where it's appropriate, it's better received than just going in there and losing your cool. And and I respect you for that kind of training and your reputation around here for that. So thank you for all that good
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yes.
Anything else you guys want to?
Dan?
I'm good right now.
I think that your education, your background, Anthony, I believe you have a lot to offer to the county.
Well, I
So
appreciate it.
I think that we all should be aware that we're very fortunate to have you here.
Yes, we are.
I'm blessed to have you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
He was referring to you then. He said gentlemen. So I thought I'd get that in
Well,
before you
there
did.
is,
Before we get there.
Consider you to be a gentleman too, Mr. Bill.
Thank you, sir.
I had to
appreciate
kind of broaden my definition,
But you see, there goes that one
There
liner
it
again.
is.
I
That
get
was
it.
good.
That's
Well
what you
played.
need to do. Good.
It's time for you to ask your question.
I was getting there.
Okay.
Well, this is kind of unfair because you've heard it, but I'm going to ask anyway. Tell us something about you that nobody knows.
I'm a do-it-myselfer.
Okay. Want to explain that a little bit?
Yes, sir. In being self-employed as a commercial fisherman and in running a small trucking company, I have learned to, if a man is going to be self-employed or a woman, they have to learn to fix their own stuff. So I have academic experience, but I've also got acquired mechanical experience. I never hire anyone to change the oil in my car. I do it myself. I've rebuilt engines and pulled transmissions out and put them back in. And I'm a big advocate of Brunswick Community College because the last year or so I've been taking some classes with them, trade classes. Right now I'm actually enrolled in a welding program out there.
Really?
So I highly encourage people to check out what our local community college has to offer. You can really broaden your horizons and learn new things, and it helps keep your mind sharp. Helps keep your faculties.
Oh, Bill needs to go there then.
You see,
Ba-dum-bum.
the advantage over me is my dad looked at me once and saw my skills with my hands and said, if you don't work with your brain, you're going to starve to death, son. So I learned from that up front. But you have an advantage of me. You can do work with both your brain and your hands. So I stand up to you on that.
I've always prayed, Lord, please let me have common sense and book sense.
Well, I found out over the years that common sense is not all that common. But we'll get
Very rare.
We'll get there anyway.
It
But
does
Anthony,
seem at times to be in short supply.
one thing we didn't cover with you, if people want to learn more about you or they want to donate to your campaign, how do they do that?
I have been working on a Facebook page at Street for Brunswick, and hopefully I will have it up before the election gets here. I know we're drawing closer every day, and so people are getting more serious about finding out about their candidates and what their experience is. So I'm going to try to have that up.
Quickly?
Yes, sir.
And I would tell you, if you go to anytime I've gone to a meeting anywhere, you'll usually find Anthony outside greeting people and
Yes.
talking to him about coming in
Yes.
and what he's here to run. So, he's put a lot of time into the effort. So, on behalf of all of us, I wish you luck in the election and come back and
Absolutely.
visit us
Back and
again.
visit.
Thank you, sir. It's
Yes,
been a
thank you for
pleasure.
coming today, Anthony. Is there any one thing that you'd like to say to the audience before you leave?
I just want to say I love the people of Brunswick County, and I pray that God will bless all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think, TK, we can take a commercial break for about 2 minutes and we'll get set up to close. We got some talking time left, which is even good. I'll get you started.
What's it going to be this time?
My name is Brian Wilson. I'm running for District Court Judge. During my lifetime, I've gone from protecting your God-given and constitutional freedoms as a combat vet of the U.S. military to working locally as a carpenter building homes while I worked my way through college. For the past 17 years, I've been protecting and defending your constitutional rights in the courtroom. I'm currently protecting our rights of our most vulnerable, our children, as the guardian ad litem attorney advocate for the children of Brunswick, Columbus, and Bladen County. I've spent my career serving our country, our state, and our communities, so I ask that you continue your confidence by voting for me, Brian Wilson, in the primary elections on May 17th. Thank you.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you are a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
We need judges who serve we the people, not self-interested career politicians. This is Jenny Statting, wife of Judge Michael Statting, your conservative candidate for North Carolina Court of Appeals. Michael is a former prosecutor, sitting Republican judge, and a reservist in the United States Air Force. Michael is a lifelong public servant. That is why I'm asking you to remember to vote for Judge Michael Statting, your conservative candidate for North Carolina Court of Appeals. Paid for by the committee to elect Michael Statting. Michael Statting is a reservist for the United States Air Force. Use of job title does not imply endorsement by the Department of Air Force or the Department of Defense.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots. and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. As a Marine Corps veteran, practicing attorney, professor of law, and father of 5, I want to pass on the precious freedoms that we inherited to the next generation. For that to happen, we need judges who will faithfully apply our Constitution and our laws, not rewrite them to achieve specific outcomes. If you share my commitment to liberty, please vote Trey Allen in 2022. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
This rockin' music, man.
Welcome back, everybody, to All Things Brunswick. We have had some great guests today, and we appreciate you tuning in. I would like to invite everyone listening to Brunswick County Republican Headquarters on Saturday from 1 to 4 for a Judicial Appreciation Day. We have judges coming statewide. We have the judges in the county that are running for seats and other candidates who will be here. You can talk to them, listen to them, get the information that you need to make a good vote. So please join us. There will be food. It's free. Come on Saturday, 1 to 4.
And if it's free, it's for me, so that works too. A couple other things we'd like to remind you of. Brunswick County Republican Party will be holding its monthly meeting this Thursday night at the headquarters at 6:30. In addition to that, on Monday at 9:30 at the headquarters in Brunswick County, we are having a real special guest stop by for some time to talk, and that's our state treasurer, Dale Forwell. He's actually going to come here and spend 45 minutes talking to people, answering questions, and talking to you about things. One of his favorite topics I'm going to hit right now, which is NC Saves. If you're not aware of it, when Dale took over, I guess about 4 years ago, there was about $950 million sitting at the state coffers from people like you and I who didn't cash in. Either we didn't get a check from a bank, we left money in a bank account, we might have put money down as a deposit on something at a utility, never got it back, and it all goes to the state by law, and they sit on it so they can return it to somebody. So what you need to do is go to NC Saves, and Dale has gotten about 41 million of it back so far in the last couple of years, people going back. You can put your name in, put your address in, all the addresses you've lived in North Carolina, and you'll find out that you might have $100, $20. You know, I know a friend that got $800 back. My family and I got about $150 back, and it's all your money anyway. So if you want to take a shot, go to NC Saves, put the information in. It takes about 2 months from the time you file that electronic paperwork to get the money, but it's worth it. Now, Dale will be here Monday at 9:30 for about 45 minutes, and it's a free visit. Come down and listen to him, talk to him, see what's going on. I think that's an important factor of what's going on. So,
very big one.
I think Dale is a great person to listen to. He's really down to earth, and he really does a lot for us. You know, one of the things that I love listening to him talk about for about 4 years, he's been pushing to get hospitals to give you an itemized bill.
Exactly.
I mean,
Wouldn't
so many
that be
times
wonderful?
You get a bill,
Yes.
and it
Yes.
just simply says you owe me $40,000, you owe me $10,000. It doesn't tell you what it's for. He is trying to get the hospitals, and they've been fighting him tooth and nail to tell you that you paid $10 for that aspirin, or you paid $2 for this, and he's a big advocate of that, and he needs your support. So we're down to just a couple of minutes left. But anything else you guys want to kick
So
in?
one thing just to throw out real quick, and Bill and Mary know this is a big thing for me, is we've got a primary coming up in 2-3 weeks, and people get out and vote for it. Because you're determining the candidates that are going to run in November. That election is just as important as the November one. Get out and vote.
And vote the entire ballot, please.
Yes,
No,
that's another good
You need
point.
to remember, parties do not select candidates. You do in
You
a
do.
primary. And if you're going to have 10 or 20% of the electorate in a party go out and vote, then you're letting 10 or 20% of the people decide who's running for you.
Exactly.
And, you know, there are things out there. For example, we have running on the Republican side, just for the U.S. Senate, there are 14 candidates out there. On the Democratic side, there's 11 candidates.
Right.
So if you don't go out and make your choice, you don't know who you're going to get. It's important to get out there and vote. And as Mary said, vote everybody. Don't just pick the top 2 or 3.
Top to bottom, you need to
Vote the whole thing.
Right, because so many people will, like, for example, they'll vote for Senate, and skip everything else. And then they wonder why in November a candidate is running that maybe they didn't like.
Right.
Well, if you didn't vote,
Right.
frankly, as far as I'm concerned, you have no right to complain about it.
Exactly.
And we all know how often judges turn everything around but what people want.
Yes.
So if you don't get out there and vote for conservative judges, then you get what you earned.
Yep.
And I
It
hate
goes back
say
to
it
the
that way.
3-2-1, right?
Right.
Talk about
Do
that
I do
again.
3-2-1 this time?
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
It's your thing.
3-2-1 is actually something the General Assembly has put out there. If we're going to keep North Carolina the way we're going, we need to elect 3 people to the General Assembly, put everybody that's currently there back again, and take 3 seats from the Democrats. So we now have a supermajority in the General Assembly, the House side of it, and we can override Governor Cooper's actions. In the House, in the Senate in North Carolina, we need 2 additional seats. So we got to return, like in our case, Senator Rabin, and then other places, get your people back there, and then we elect 2 more statewide. We now control supermajority in the Senate, and anything that Cooper passed, we can override a veto, which is critical, and that 1 is even more critical. Currently, the North Carolina Supreme Court is 4 Democrats and 3 Republicans. 2 of the Democrats are up for election this year. If we get 1 or both seats, we control what's going on at the highest court in North Carolina, and we can make a lot of changes. So 3-2-1, critical to say.
And if you think it doesn't matter, look at all of the big issues right now and where most people stand on them, and we're not.
Well,
being
if you don't
heard
think it
because
matters, just look at voter
any-
ID.
Literally any issue out there right now.
Look at voter ID.
Yeah.
We can't get anything done. Look at what happened with this election and changing the day, the vote time we're doing because
Thank
the
you for
Democrats said
tuning
no.
in, folks. Thank you
Oh, I
so much
think
for
we're done now,
joining
Bill.
us.
Anyway, this is the 3 of us saying, late as usual, tune in next week for our next chapter of All Things Brunswick. This is Bill Moore.
And Dan
Mary
Roman.
Stillwell.
Tune in and thanks for listening.